What are your sustainability goals for this year? What change do you want to see in your life on the sustainability front this year? Hi Arufonation family, and welcome to another video. Welcome to those of you who have just joined the family, and happy 2024 to all of you. I really hope that your year has been great so far. So basically in this video I just thought maybe I should just do like a sit down story time update kind of vibe with you guys. One of the things that I really want to do this year is to be more conscious of my consumption habits. I want to be more sustainable in my practices, in how I do things, the things that I buy, the causes that I support, and basically like where my money goes. I just want to become more conscious about those things. This is why I thought I need to do this video, because last year I made a conscious decision that I'm going to start to become more intentional about my contribution towards environmental protection. I wanted to be more intentional about reducing my own carbon footprint. And I know like there are a vast number of reasons why climate change is happening, but I just believe that as individuals we also play a role in that. So I was like, I want to be more sustainable. I want to make sure that the majority of the things that I do and how I live reflect the things I believe in, and I actually want to understand what is it, what can I do to contribute to a more sustainable economy or a more sustainable environment, right? So this year, one of my goals is to just become more conscious, right? Invest more in eco-friendly things and eco-friendly habits, right? So I am doing this video as like an update because I actually started my journey, well, consciously, like with more intention. I started it about 5 months ago. So I'm just giving you guys an update of where I am right now, because I mentioned it in my last vlog that this is what I'm now doing. So I just thought I should come here and sort of firstly explain why I thought it would be good for me to start becoming more sustainable in how I live, but also some of the lessons that I've learned in the past 5 months of trying to live like that. So to start off, for those of you who may not know, who are watching this and you're thinking, what is sustainable living? What are sustainable practices? It is basically being intentional about your lifestyle and making conscious choices about the things that you consume in order to promote environmental protection. So it's basically adopting sustainable practices in your day-to-day life. And this is because much as there are bigger things that cause climate change, like your air pollution, right? As individuals, we also have a role to play in ensuring environmental protection and sustainability in our own daily lives. It is important that we also make choices and decisions that reduce our own carbon footprint as human beings. And these things, they start with the choices you make each day at home, and they extend all the way to your conduct and relationship with your external environment and the causes that you champion and support. I am an environmental activist lawyer, and we're always fighting for environmental protection on a higher level. We are looking at corporates and their conduct, what is government doing, and basically encouraging people all the time, like, make decisions that protect the environment, don't do this and all that. But at some point, I had to sit down with myself and ask, much as I'm doing this work, which is great, by the way, what am I also doing in my own personal life to reflect these values that I want to see in the society that we live in? Because it's one thing for me to be on the backs of government and corporates saying, this thing, it doesn't promote sustainability, you're not taking care of the environment when you're doing this. But it's another for me to come from a meeting where I'm basically saying that, and then I go back home and I'm littering, for example, or I'm very wasteful with food, I'm just throwing it away everywhere, or I'm just like consuming a lot of plastic, which ends up in the environment and is detrimental for the environment. So I thought, what conscious choices can I also start to make in my own life to reflect the values that I'm fighting for, to reflect the change that I also want to see? Because like I mentioned earlier, as individuals, we actually do have the power to make that change, to push for that change that we want to see. So that's why I was also like, I need to start working on this journey myself and see what it's like. And then another thing that actually pushed me into making this decision was, it's an old friend. They messaged me and they're like, oh, you're like the environmental person, and I'm thinking of having like a minimalist lifestyle, and also thinking about environmental protection and what I can do as an individual. So they basically wanted to have like a call and talk about it, like, what they can do as an individual to ensure environmental protection or get involved, right? And I thought to myself, this is so funny, because it was at a point in time in my life where I was also thinking, what can I do in my own personal life to ensure environmental protection apart from the job that I do? What can I do in my own home to ensure this, to ensure that in as much as I'm fighting for change on a bigger scale, that even at home I'm also doing things that reduce my own individual carbon footprint? So it was such a timely question, but I actually laughed at this because it was like, oh, that's so funny. Either the universe was like, okay, this girl's gonna need another push, so let me send someone to her so that she can make a firm decision to start doing this. And also I was like, it's so funny because I'm also at a point where I'm not quite sure how to walk this journey, right? There are things that I had been doing before, like knowing, okay, we need to conserve water, so you're not just gonna let taps run when you're not using them. But I was like, when it comes to other things that are important to our day-to-day life, like food, for example, clothes, for example, how do you practically implement that? And I thought it might be easier to actually do this while I am practicing it every day in my life, because it's easier to say to someone, this is how you can do it, when you're actually doing it, than when you're just giving them a broader thing, like, oh, generally they say if you want to be more sustainable, this is what you do. I think it's much better when you are going through it. So yeah, basically after all of that, because it's something I was also just thinking about, and then this person came through and I was like, you know what, I'm now going to make an intentional decision to actually just go through with this and see what it looks like, what works, what doesn't, and what could be improved. What things in my life can I actually change in order for me to become more sustainable and reduce my own carbon footprint as a person. And I have to say, this is not an easy journey, because we obviously live in a world where not everyone is promoting sustainability. Even businesses, most of them are not sustainable in their own practices. Some purport that they do, but it's all just greenwashing. So sometimes even when you have the intention to become more sustainable in how you live, the circumstances around the world or circumstances around the place that you live may get in the way. But I was like, does that mean I can't try? Because surely I think you can. So I thought, you know what, I will do the best I can with what I have, with where I am, right? So that's how I basically started this journey to sustainable living. Firstly, I just want to say, when I started this journey, because I know myself, I was like, I want to ease into it. I think when you make lifestyle changes, it's better, and you're most likely going to stick with it if you make gradual changes than when you just jump right into it and cut off everything at once. That has never really worked for me. Like, gradual changes are better, because then you're developing a habit slowly but surely, and then by the time you get there, it's like second nature to you, right? So basically I think like creating a lifestyle is like a habit. It takes long to form and it takes long to change, but once you got it, it sticks for life, right? So basically I was like, I'm gonna take things slowly. I'm not gonna jump right into it, because it's also a learning process. You don't learn everything at once. you keep learning as you go. So my goal is to practically live out a sustainable lifestyle by making small, gradual changes every day. So you know what they say, like one small change every day leads to bigger changes in the future. So every single day I am aiming to just be 1% better. And I always ask myself, how can I be sustainable today? And I'll take it from there, right? And if you're thinking about working on this journey, those are the questions you need to be asking yourself. Basically, how can I be more sustainable today? How can I be more sustainable this week, this month, this year? The whole point of this journey is to be more conscious of our actions and how they contribute to the health or degradation of the environment. When it comes to climate change, we know that the major reason why we are in this crisis is because of human conduct. So if human beings can ruin a thing, they can fix it, which is why I am saying that as individuals, we also have a role to play to ensure that we reduce our own carbon footprint. And part of that is not only ensuring that the big polluters are held accountable and are practicing sustainable business models and everything wherever they are, but it's also about you as an individual. What are your consumption habits and how are they affecting or benefiting the environment? The journey to a sustainable lifestyle is a very intentional journey. You have to give yourself a lot of grace, considering that sometimes certain things will be out of your control, like the packaging of certain products or the availability of eco-friendly options in the products that you personally use. Another thing is, before you go on this journey, or when you start going through this journey, you're going to realize that you are going to be forced to think about the things that you can live with, the things you can't live with, and also the things that you're like, you know what, I'm in the middle with this one. I'm using what I'm using now, but if I get a sustainable option, I am definitely opting for it, depending on whether or not it works for me, right? And I'm saying this because intention plays a big role in making lifestyle changes, and that always starts with your mindset. So once you start to think about it in your own mind, like, this is what I want to do and this is how I'm going to do it, then it's easier for you to actually start to live it out practically in your life. So it goes back to what I was saying, like gradual changes are even better because you're not forcing your mind and everything around you to change all at once, right? You're basically saying, I've decided to live a sustainable lifestyle. These are the areas in my life that I think are not sustainable or I'm being wasteful. So basically looking at what is it that you're currently doing, how are you currently living, and how is that beneficial or how is it affecting the environment, right? What is your current carbon footprint and where can you make changes within that? So it's not like an overall uplifting everything in your life. I mean, the goal is to get there where you're 100% sustainable, but if you're being realistic, this is a journey, right? That intention you set at the beginning is what's going to help you go through it and get to a point where you are maybe 100% sustainable, depending on where you are. Some people can actually do it, but some people, because of circumstances and all of that, it might not be possible to be 100%, but you will get to like 80%, which is great anyway. So personally, when I also started this journey, I had to think about the things that I can live with, those I can live without, and things I'm still like, you know what, if I find an alternative option, I'm definitely gonna opt for it. And there are things that I could just like let go of, but there are things that I was like, I can't live without this thing. And one of those things was like toothbrushes, right? So we all know we're using toothbrushes every day, at least I hope you are. And the thing about toothbrushes is they are made out of plastic, and plastic is a big source of waste. Normally when we're buying toothbrush 2-3 times a year, because some people are changing your toothbrushes every 3 months or every 6 months or whatever. So every single time you change your toothbrush, you're most likely throwing away the old one, and that old one ends in the environment. And because plastic takes a long time to break down, it's actually going to last longer in the environment than other products, right? And I was just reading about this earlier, and I saw that in the US alone, about 1 billion toothbrushes are thrown away each year, which is like 50 million pounds of plastic. And because plastic is not easily biodegradable, it just basically means that these toothbrushes are just going to be lying there in the environment for a very long time. And there's also like toxic chemicals that are released from the plastic products that are used to make these products, which are detrimental to the natural environment. So which is why though toothbrushes are very necessary in our daily lives, it's important that we start looking for eco-friendly options to minimize the environmental damage that they cause, right? And I've been trying that. So I tried using like recycled plastic toothbrushes or like bamboo toothbrushes. But the thing is, I just haven't found one of these with nice bristles, right? Like nice bristles that feel good or are really like good for my own teeth, you know, because I don't want to damage my teeth. And I also don't want to feel like I'm brushing my teeth, but I don't feel like I'm brushing my teeth. You know what I mean? So for me, that was one of the hard decisions I now had to make, to say, I cannot find an eco-friendly option that actually works for my own teeth, that makes me feel good after brushing my own teeth. So I had to sort of say, for now, I'm just going to stick with the toothbrushes that are working for me. But if I find something in future that is made from eco-friendly materials and has got bristles that really work for my teeth, I am willing to make that switch. So that's what I'm saying, like, intention is important, but also you have to know that these are some of the decisions you're going to have to make. What can you live without? And that's why I said this is about a journey of making gradual changes each and every time, instead of just jumping right into it. Because if you jump right into it, you're going to face some of these problems, and now you start backtracking, and you might actually end up never getting to where you want to be. This journey isn't about perfection, but rather progression. It's a matter of learning and unlearning the things that you think you know. That's why I started off by saying it's an intentional journey. You're going to make mistakes, but that's how you learn. I think I've definitely made some mistakes along the way. You know, there are times when I bought something and I thought, oh, you know, this is an eco-friendly product. And then when I decided to dig deep in my research, I found out, oh, actually, it's not that eco-friendly. It happens, but that's how you learn, right? So this is why I also thought that it might be important for me to share this journey with you. It's not intended to shame anyone or to make you feel bad about your own lifestyle choices and practices, but it's simply to share what's possible and how it can be beneficial for us and our environment in the long run. And you can always pick and choose what actually works for you and your circumstances, because circumstances are always going to be different, right? Some people live in places where even the economy is starting to change and become a bit more sustainable. So it's easier for them to access certain things, right? But if you're not living in such a space where that is happening, then it might be a very difficult journey for you to go through. But then it becomes an issue of intention, right? Like, what can you change where you are, right? That's why I said I wouldn't advise you to just completely uplift your whole life and say this is what I want to do, because sometimes it may be impossible because of where you are. So what can you do with what you have where you are? Those are the most important questions to ask yourself when you start this journey. Those are the questions I'm constantly asking myself as I go through this journey. One other important thing that I learned when I started this journey was that you need to constantly die to self. As human beings, we have so many desires, right? You see things and you're like, I want this thing. But when you start to walk on a journey of sustainable living, there are some things that you just can't have. There are some things that you constantly have to hold yourself back and say, I can't get this thing. It's beautiful. I really want to have this thing, but I can't have it because it is not eco-friendly, because it's got a high carbon footprint, and I want to reduce my own individual carbon footprint. By the way, when you reduce your own individual carbon footprint, you're making a conscious choice to do something to protect the environment, but it doesn't necessarily mean that everyone else is going to do it, right? So you can't say I'm not going to do it because everyone else is not going to do it. You do it because you know it's good. And as you keep doing it, other people are going to see you, they're going to start emulating what you're doing, and that's how you start to create a change. So when you're constantly dying to yourself, and maybe you're having conversations with people like, oh, I realized I shouldn't buy that because it's like this. Some people may laugh at you, but others will be listening, and then before you know it, surrounding yourself with people who are like-minded and also doing the same thing, and that's how the change starts. But yeah, when we're talking about constantly dying to self, we always go back to the question of intentionality. It is such a big thing when it comes to changing lifestyle, because you constantly need to keep making the decision to be more conscious in your choices. You might literally walk into a shop, you see something, you're like, oh girl, I gotta have that. Then you look at it and then you see maybe it's made out of polyester, and you're like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. I have to put it back because this is not good for the environment. And those are very tough decisions to make. You're dying to solve because this thing before this, you would have gone for it. But now you're like, I want to be a bit more conscious, so I can't take this product because of this. An example I want to give here of what happened in my own personal life when I started walking this journey was I started to make changes in relation to my fashion choices. I'm not even talking about fashion style here. I'm just talking about the clothes that I buy, where I buy them, and the materials that I used to make those clothes. So I started to make more conscious decisions about the shops I buy things from. What are their sustainable practices? Are they sustainable? Do they have a sustainability policy? What does that policy say? And do they actually practice what's in that policy? Because it's one thing for them to say, oh, we believe in sustainability and environmental protection, and it's another for them to actually do it and implement it on the ground. So I started to think about, who am I buying from? What is their sustainability stance? Are they actually practicing it? And then, what materials are these clothes made out of? So I actually started to look at labels. Okay, it's so weird because before I never used to look at a label unless I'm looking at the size of the item to see if it's my size. But now I'm reading through a label to see what material was used in this product, because I want to know, is it an eco-friendly material? And it's so weird because sometimes you're in a shop, you're holding this item, and sometimes I actually go on Google to start researching this material. I'm seeing is it an eco-friendly material? How biodegradable is it? Is it recyclable or whatever? I am looking at that before I buy now, because I've decided I want to be more conscious about my consumption habits. And as a result of this, I even stopped buying from Shein, because I just thought, you know what? I mean, they have nice trendy clothes. They are on the affordable side, because they also have these dupes of expensive items, and it's attractive to buy there, but it's fast fashion. And as we all know, fast fashion is not sustainable because of the very fact that it's fast fashion. It's in today, it's out tomorrow. And if you're following those things, that means the things you buy today, you're not going to be wearing them tomorrow. And then also, fast fashion things are not meant to last forever. They're not durable. You're just supposed to consume them then and then drop them. So now I was like, I'm not just going to be buying things for the sake of buying, or for following fashion trends, or maybe just wanting an outfit for a particular day. I'm going to buy things that I'm actually going to use, things that are durable, things of high quality. So I had to make that decisions, because in order for you to be sustainable, especially when it comes to your fashion practices, then those are some of the decisions you have to make. So I had to stop buying from Shein, and also other fast fashion brands. I am trying to make sure that I don't fall into the trap of just buying things for the sake of buying, or buying things that I know that, yeah, it looks nice today, but actually next year I'm probably not going to be wearing this thing. I'm thinking of 5 years down the line. I am literally at a point where I'm like, if I can't wear this thing 5 years from now, I'm not getting it, right? I've had slip ups. I'm not gonna lie, I've had slip ups, there are times when I've actually bought an item because I really just liked it. In this type of journey, you're gonna make mistakes, but that's how you learn. Every time now I'm a bit more conscious, when am I likely to make more sleep ups, right? So now I've also started to think about, if I see something and I really like it, but I know it's not an eco-friendly material, I'm gonna go back home, sleep on it, maybe wait for like a week and see if I still need this thing. If I spend 24 hours not thinking about it, I don't have to buy it. And if I go for a week and I even forget about it after like 2 days or whatever, I don't need that thing. That's how I'm also starting to change some of my consumption habits. Here, I'm just gonna pause and say that if you're actually interested in knowing more about sustainable fashion and how you can start to also buy sustainable fashion pieces and look good while still promoting environmental protection, I'm actually going to do a separate video on this where I just share my own experiences and also some of the things that I'm buying myself that are a bit more eco-friendly, and how I'm basically changing my life in that area, because I think fashion is a thing, especially for us women. Like, fashion is a thing. So I thought that was one of the biggest areas I had to change. So I think it deserves a video of its own. I don't want to go on a rant on it here, but be on the lookout for that video. And if you are watching this and you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, maybe this is the time for you to subscribe so that you don't miss out on some of these videos that are going to be coming out. And then another big thing that I learned as I started this journey is that it can be costly, okay? It can be costly, especially when you're starting, because remember, you're changing a lifestyle. So you are basically throwing out a lot of things and bringing in new things. And by throwing out, I don't mean like discarding into the trash, right? Going back to clothes, I had to give away a lot of clothes, donate a lot of clothes, and I am basically starting a new wardrobe. And that has been very expensive for me, because starting a new wardrobe is always very expensive, especially when you're thinking of sustainability, because when you're thinking of sustainable fashion, we're talking about durable, high quality stuff, right? And made out of eco-friendly materials. So those kind of things right now in South Africa, at least, most of these things are still on the high end of prices, and that's basically because not a lot of people are making or selling these kinds of products. So when you go out there and you look for them and you find them, you're going to find that they may actually be costing more than something that is not. And I think that is one thing that deters people from implementing sustainable practices in their own lives, because sometimes it can be very expensive to do so, especially for someone like me who's starting over a whole new wardrobe, and this is what I'm starting with. But I don't think it's a reason for anyone not to try it, right? We always have to start with what we have and with what we can do. And personally, I'm actually on a mission to find affordable, sustainable options, because I don't support spending thousands of rands on certain things. Like, why am I spending thousands of rands on clothes? For what reason? So I'm looking for brands and businesses that are selling these things at an affordable price. And as I go through this journey, I'm actually going to be sharing with you guys where I'm finding some of the affordable stuff so that we can help each other out. And if you know places that are selling eco-friendly things, especially clothes, because I am still trying to build my wardrobe, and anything else that's like a bit more sustainable, please do share down below in the comment section so we can help each other out. But some of the things I've had to change that cost me a bit, as I've mentioned earlier, are clothes. But I'm also very intentional about it, because I'd rather save up money to buy one pair of jeans that I know is going to last me for the next 5 years than to go and buy 5 pairs of jeans that I know that in the next year I might not even be able to wear these jeans anymore, either because when I put them in the washer the color runs, or they start to look weird or funny or feel funny while I'm wearing them, and now I go back and buy new jeans. Like, I'm not doing that. As I'm going through this journey, one other thing that I'm seeing is that the more intentional I am, the more I am telling myself, I'm going to make the conscious choice. I'm going to make the conscious choice. And I'm doing this with a lot of things, like even with jewelry as well. I am starting to think of conscious choices. These earrings I'm making, these are made from recycled steel, because I was like, I want to see how best I can make these changes, you know. I can't just say I can't. I want to go out and try and see how I can make these things. But I'm seeing that the more I am telling myself that this is what I want to do, the more naturally I'm also starting to just come across these things. Sometimes I'm not even checking out for them, I'm not even looking for them, and then I come across them. Or I was laughing the other day because I bought something in a rush in Forever New. It was a dress, I think. I bought it in a rush, and I was like, I saw it, I was like, oh, I like this dress, it looks very nice, the material looks great. And then I just bought it, and then when I got home I was like, oh shoot, I actually didn't check the material. What material is this made from? And then as I checked, I realized I'm not getting good at picking out these things, because it was literally made from sustainable cotton, and it was part of their conscious choice initiative. And I was actually like, this is so funny, because I was kind of like, oh Tatenda, you now need to start checking, and you did not check. But I was like, no man, my eyes are starting to pick out these things, they're starting to pick out these things. So that's basically what I've been doing, just trying out, even when people are advertising things to you. So guys, just because someone is advertising something to you and they're saying it's great, I think an extra question you now need to ask, especially if you want to become more sustainable in your lifestyle practices, is how sustainable is this thing that you are advertising to me? Because I've also noticed that, you know, especially with influencers, when they're advertising things, you're like, oh okay, this person is advertising it, it might be good. But now I'm actually thinking, yeah, that looks great, but how sustainable is that? You know, what's the sustainability stance of the people who make this product? Because I'm not buying it in as much as it looks good. I'm not buying it if it's going to be detrimental to the environment, or if so. Those are some of the intentional decisions I'm starting to make. And I know it's so hard, right? Because sometimes you just want this thing, or it looks so good and you just need it. But I've just decided to ask that extra question, because a lot of times people are not advertising that extra piece of information, right? You then start to buy this brand, and then you realize, oh my gosh, they're testing on animals, or their human rights practices are so bad, they're treating people harshly, and you're just like, why am I supporting this brand? As someone who actually cares about the environment, and I do care about human rights practices, I wouldn't want to condone certain actions. So I've just reached a point in my life where I'm now starting to think about these things and ask the questions, find out that these things that look so good, what are their human rights practices, what are their sustainability practices? Because if I'm going to put my hard-earned money into it, then I better make sure that I am putting it into something that is good, right? And by that, I mean not just people who say this is our sustainability stance, but they have to say it and do it, because the truth is in the action. Are they actually doing it? This whole journey just goes back to the point I was making initially, which is that you have to be very intentional, and you have to be willing to die to self. You know, you're not going to get it right the first time. I am definitely making mistakes along the way. But like I said earlier, it's about progression, not perfection. It's about learning and unlearning. That's what we are aiming for. So you always have to keep trying until it becomes a natural part of you, and that's how it then becomes a lifestyle. Alright you guys, I'm actually going to leave this here for now. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and you also start working on this sustainable living journey with me. Let me know down below in the comment section how you're also adopting sustainability practices in your own life, and any reasons why you think this may be a difficult journey for you, or you think, you know, this is what you think you also need to do. I just want to hear it all from your side. Like, what are you doing in your own life to be more sustainable? Any challenges that you are facing, and what other things would you like to know more of when it comes to this? And on that note, if you're here and you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please do subscribe and hit the notification bell down below, so that you're notified every single time I upload a video around this topic or all the other topics that we talk about here on I Root for Nature. I don't think you want to miss out on this. It's an exciting journey that we are working on here. And until the next video, stay true, keep fighting, and keep the earth clean.